My next guest got a huge fight coming up here against Rob Font, UFC 287, April 8th. Doesn't get much bigger than this. It's Adrian Yanez back here on the program. Adrian, how are you, man?
Man, I am doing great. Thank you for having me back on. You're one of the guys who's interviewed me since way back, since LFA days. So yeah, man, I'm always happy to give you some time because you gave me some time back then.
Oh, I appreciate you still giving me time, man. It's always great talking to you. Before we get into everything, we got to talk about your shirt. Where did you get that shirt? I am so jealous. Bloodsport is my favorite movie of all time. So
yeah, I got it off of Contenders. Contenders, they sent it to me, and they sent me like a whole care package. I remember seeing this. I even have the Denmark shirt and all that stuff. And it's some of my favorite shirts, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you because like they come up with a whole bunch of they got a whole bunch of schemes. I remember the thing that set me over with the Contenders that I really loved is when the whole pandemic started, they had like a shirt just for to help fighters out. Like if they're like a struggling fighter, like they had a shirt. And I remember buying that shirt because I was like, man, I like that. I think that's pretty cool that they're like a lot of these promotions were fighting. So I was like, yeah. So shouted them out and ended up sending me a care package. Got this shirt and I was like, oh yeah, I love this. I love this a lot. So I was like, yeah, I gotta rock it today.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, like I said, great movie. If you haven't seen Bloodsport, you got to go check it out. But we have not seen you in the cage in a while. I think a lot of people want to know what's been the reason for the layoff.
Honestly, I feel like it all kind of started after that Davey Grant fight. I told the UFC I was going to take a couple months off, just because son being born, and I wanted to be there for the mother of my child, just so I can be there, help her out with whatever she needed, and making sure that everything went smooth and was all right. After the 3 months, that passed, spending time with the family, pretty much I started asking to get a fight. I wanted to fight, but some stuff just wasn't lining up. There was a couple matchups that were there, but kind of came and went. And then finally I heard about UFC Austin, wanted UFC Austin, was campaigning hard for it, got it. And then, after that fight, pretty much in July, I started hearing that the UFC wanted to put me up against Rob Font. And I was like, yeah, I'm here for it. I will 100% want that fight. I was kept quiet about it, but I didn't know that Rob Font wasn't going to be ready because I usually don't keep up with other fighters. I'm just start training, but I had no idea that he wasn't going to be ready for this year. And we moved on, started trying to get other fights, trying to stay on the MSG card, but things didn't line up. No fights came around, and I was just pretty much just kind of bummed out because I wanted to be super active in 2020 too. So it sucked on my end, but like in late December, that's when they started telling me that Font fight was for sure. Like you just needed to sign the contract. In January we signed the contract, and then after that, pretty much just until now. But other than that, we're trying to fight UFC San Antonio, but they pushed it 2 weeks back, and for good reason. So
Yeah,
was bummed that I wasn't going to be in Texas, but I'm like really excited that it was a UFC 287.
yeah, no, it kind of worked out. And the weird thing was, like, I remember hearing the fight announcement about, there was rumors about Adrian Yanez, Rob Font. And I remember seeing that because I know Rob quite well. And I was like, Rob's having a kid. Like, I don't think he's ready to take a fight right now. And so my understanding was, at least from the Font side of things, was that I don't think they let the UFC know about that. So maybe that was supposed to be the plan for MSG, and then they moved it there. But who knows what happened? The point is, you guys are fighting now.
Oh, yeah.
How excited are you to fight him? Because obviously Rob's a big name in the division. And stylistically, I mean, I doubt this fight's going to the ground. How do you see this one going, like in terms of a style matchup?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel like this is like the UFC matched us up just because they want to give the fans a treat. They got a guy who's a boxer versus a guy who's another boxer. They're like, yeah, let's put the two best boxers in the bantamweight division against each other and just see who really is the best boxer. So we're here. We're gonna put that to the test, and I'm super excited, man. I'm really excited about the matchup just because, man. It like I kind of go back to this all the time, and I think about it. Man, I remember whenever I made my pro MMA debut. And I remember a couple months later watching Rob Font. I think he made his UFC debut, and that I remember watching it. I forget which pay-per-view it was, but I think it was Chris Weidman versus Lyoto Machida. I believe
Might have
so.
been. I'll do a quick Tapology search, but keep talking.
Yeah, so I remember seeing that, and I just remember like, man, I really liked how he fought because he was all hands. He wanted
Correct.
to,
George Roop. He
yeah,
actually knocked him
yeah.
out in the first round. So
So
there you go.
yeah, like I've been watching him for a while. So like I'm like a fan myself, you know. So like I loved watching the fights, and now it's almost like idealistically, like, or like, I guess I don't want to overplay the phrase,
Mhm.
but guys, your idols become your rivals type deal. You know, it's overplayed, overused, but this
Yeah.
is actually one of those for me, because I remember seeing him knock out George Roop and just being like, like that. That's how I want that. That's I like that fight. I like that fighting style, and I love watching him just because he was going to try to knock you out, and I love that.
Yeah, it's really cool and kind of an interesting too, like that you guys are fighting each other. You guys both first time fathers too, so it's kind of neat that like it's all kind of
Yeah.
lined up this way. People think of Rob being a New England guy, but I think people forget he actually is from Florida originally. So that's kind of cool too. That there's a lot of interesting things going in. What about camp? What does that look like leading into this one? Who you been working with? Who've been some of the main guys?
Man, I've been working with a lot of people, man. Like after that Tony Kelly fight. So before the Tony Kelly fight, I only had like 6 weeks to work, and I had a Muay Thai. I just had a Muay Thai coach, and then working in some spots, working seeing if we fit together, and it was like me and Yves Edwards. Like after the doing the work with a Muay Thai coach, next Yves would come in. We'd work, and then it just kind of just started building into like almost like a whole structured thing. And then we had Matt Schnell coming in. We had Rafion Stotts, Cameron
Stotts is
Smotherman.
awesome, man. Can't say
Yeah,
enough good
yeah.
things about guys. So, by the way, I just got to mention this as like a side note. Just so happy to see him get all this success because
Oh
people
yes.
forget he was on his way to the UFC and then he had the Marab fight and then he ended up going to Bellator and became the champ there. It's crazy. So,
Yeah, he could easily be in like the top five
and
right
that
now. And
Marab
like,
loss has not aged too badly considering what Marab's done, right? So,
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
easily,
yeah.
man. I feel like Rafion Stotts is one of the best in the world, if not the best. He's out there. His striking's getting better. His wrestling's getting better. Like, his jiu-jitsu's getting a lot better. Like, he overall as a fighter, he has grown, and I'm really excited. Man, I really think, man, I really think he's gonna knock out Patchy Mix, and I really can't wait to see that. But uh. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I'm really excited.
Yeah,
I'm
for
really
sure.
happy because he's one of the hardest workers out there, man.
Yeah.
He's consistently doing stuff, and he's always doing that little bit extra too. Like, he's like, a lot of guys don't come in like 5 minutes early, or like stay 5 minutes later and all that stuff, and he's doing that. He deserves it, man. I Much respect to the guy, because he's working, consistently working.
Yeah.
uh but yeah.
That's great. Your corner, who will be in the cage with you that night?
So for this corner, I'm gonna have my brother. Has always been a guy who's kind of always, like, he's main staple in my corner. Can't never leave without him. I have Cameron Smotherman coming with me, my training partner. He's a Fury FC champ, and then I have Yves Edwards in my corner as well. So he's been like the head MMA coach for me. So I have three coaches. I have Coach Yves. I have Coach Corley working on my striking, and then I have Coach Phil, who does all my strength conditioning. So Coach Yves, he's just been overlooking everything. Like, we kind of dialed in like a program where I'm just like, we have more eyes on us, and just eyes on me as well, instead of me just kind of just like, like, oh, all right, this is what we're doing. Now we have a formulated plan of what, hey, this is how sparring is going to look like. This is how this day is going to look like. This is how this day is going to look like. And I'm loving it. And I felt like I've grown from the last year to now, and I'm really excited to show that off.
How's this fight playing out on April 8th? One thing with Rob, and we've seen this time and time again in his fights, he is tough to knock out, man. How do you see this one going down?
Man, I really do believe I'm gonna be the first guy to knock him out.
Okay.
I love I got much love and respect for Rob, but man, here's the thing. I feel like I feel like I've just leveled up on a different level. Just this past year. Just this
Mhm.
past year, I feel like I've leveled up, and I feel like I like overall MMA IQ, overall just fighting, and just everything, like in every department. But I feel like I'm gonna knock him out, and I feel like I'm gonna do it. It's I'm hoping devastating fashion, but I know he's able to take a shot. But I feel like if I'm patient enough, and I pick my shots right, I'll get him out of there.
Who's winning the main event of your card? Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira. Who's winning that rematch?
I got mad love for Izzy, and I'm gonna say Izzy.
Okay. Week after that, Max Holloway, Arnold Allen.
Oh man, same is my same answers. I got mad love for Max Holloway, so Max Holloway.
Okay, Aljamain Sterling, Henry Cejudo, who's winning the title in your division.
That's a tough one. That's the tough one. It's just whenever I look at that, oh, I like both guys, man. I like both guys. Damn, that is a tough one because they're both it's unorthodox versus the orthodox, and you got a guy who's really high MMA IQ, and then you got another guy he's just as smart in the like MMA IQ. Like geez, they're both intelligent in that sense. Damn. I might go. I'm 60-40 Henry. 60-40
Okay.
Henry.
McGregor Chandler.
McGregor Chandler, I feel McGregor gets it.
Fight here. I mean, if you be the first guy to knock out Rob Font in the UFC, that's got to propel you majorly up the rankings. Just if you look at who Rob's fought over the last couple fights, like, you know, like, do you feel like this could be maybe the biggest year of your career? Well, it probably is if you do get a win there, but just you kind of look at maybe even getting to that contender spot here by the end of the year.
Oh yeah, 100%. I finished Rob Font. That changes my career. That changes my trajectory in levels that I probably never would have thought of ever. So that's what's been making me like train even harder, just because I know the position I could put my family in, just the position I can put like myself in, and like man, I'm really really excited because I know a big win over Rob Font just changes everything. And I just look like man, I wake up to my son and I see him and I'm like, man, I can change. Like I man, much not I get to spend more time with my son. I'd be able to do this, I'd be able to do that. Like I'd be able to be like yeah, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I'd be able to go on. I can have like man, because it's crazy because like whenever I was young, we didn't really go too much out of Texas, but my son's gonna be flying into Florida with me. He's gonna be flying into Florida like that week with the mother of my child. So he's gonna be out there. So this is cool. This is cool for me that I'm able to bring my son along with me, and I want to do more of that. And I know me knocking out Font is gonna just make that open those doors for me. And that's one thing that's really been driving me this whole fight camp is I'm gonna change my life. I'm gonna change my family's life, and that's what's driving me.
Adrian, always a pleasure, man. Anyone you want to thank before we get out of here? Sponsors, social media, you name it. I'll give you the last word.
Oh yes, thank you so much, thank you so much. I want to thank Millions.co. They I do streams on them with them whenever fights coming on. The next fight that I'm doing a stream on is Millions.co is Patchy Mix versus Rafion Stotts. Nope, flip those names. Rafion Stotts versus Patchy Mix. Flip those names, man. I gotta give Rafion the A side. But also, yeah, big thank you to my management company, Iridium Sports Agency, and then also a big shout out, super big shout out, because without them, man, I would have been lost a long time ago. My training partner, Cameron Smotherman, training partner, Rafion Stotts. A big thank you to Michael Chase Corley, my striking coach. A big thank you to Yves Edwards, my overall MMA coach, and a big, big, big thank you to my strength conditioning coach, Coach Phil, because he like when everything had went on with my coach, he kept it together for me. He made sure that like we all just didn't lose ourselves in certain areas. So he kept me grounded, and I'm super thankful for him.